However, they didn't know how long they would have to continue this fake fight. Keeping this high level of tension going was physically stressful. The instant they tired out and the tension faded, Erica would probably demand a verdict. They had to constantly appear to be trapped and agitated. It was a battle of weariness and tension. This was their fight. Erica waited patiently. Now that she had tired of tea, she was watching Renobe perform some magic tricks and seemed to be enjoying herself considerably. Even Renobe, who was usually aloof from the world, was fighting. If Erica got bored and had a tantrum, an all-out attack would probably begin at once. He was also putting his life on the line in the fight to buy time for Battler's group. As the fiercest leader in the argument, Beato wore out the quickest. She breathed heavily and her face was so pale it seemed she might faint at any moment. Beato, hang in there. Your body won't hold out much longer at this rate. Pretend to suddenly burst into tears and rest for a while. We'll pick up the slack. I am still fine. I can do this. Just one more push. Let's go. So, who's up next? Who wants to be beaten down first? In that case, I go to unprepared. We must fight. It would be outrageous to accept defeat without fighting. As I've said from the beginning, fighting with all we have is the only option. I mean, I appreciate where you're coming from this, but that is a huge contradiction there, man. I don't know if Erica will notice that. Oh. Fuck. Hold on a second. Erica suddenly rose from her chair. Renobe tried to coax her back into her seat, but Erica's attention was completely focused on those arguing under the arbor. I am the detective. My memory of what I hear is as good as a recording. We are aware of that, of course. You are quite an excellent detective, after all. I'm not interested in you. Goto-san, I have one question for you. Yes, ma'am? Have I done something to cause offense? Hold on. Don't forget that some of us are opposed to fighting. I think we should surrender. Those were the first words I heard from you when I arrived here. However, you just said this: we must fight. It would be outrageous to accept defeat without fighting. As I've said from the beginning, fighting with all we have is the only option. That's what you said. Okay, Goto, our only option now is to say, you are correct. I just wanted to save face and people not to think I'm a coward, and I wanted to redeem myself from how I was being cowardly at the start. So you must sacrifice your pride, Goto. Well, did I say that? Oh, shit. It is hardly strange for an opinion to change in the course of a discussion. Genji is trying, but not enough. Indeed, all of us have been feeling doubts about our position lately, so an occasional change of opinion wouldn't be... No. From beginning to end, no one has changed their opinion in this argument. Just now, Goto-san alone flipped his position 180 degrees. Furthermore, I can't imagine that any of the statements made by the rest of you are sufficient to make Goto-san switch his position. An uncomfortable, moist wind blew by. Everyone was silent, frozen as though time had stopped. In that silence, Erica continued with a blank expression. This can lead us to two conclusions. First, it may be that Goto-san has no opinion, and is just a loser who will say anything that goes with the flow. Second, it may be that none of you has an opinion, and that this entire argument exists only for its own sake. Aren't you overthinking this a bit? Here we are in a desperate debate that will decide our fate. I hardly think it's strange that some people would act abnormally under such pressure. The only reason for prolonging a meaningless argument is to buy time. Do you have anything to gain by buying time? Is it because Lady Lambda Delta's reinforcements will come? That can't be true either. After all, for some time now, I have heard all of you speak to Lady Lambda Delta and Battler occasionally, but not once have I heard them reply. Taking all of this into account, we are left with only one conclusion. That Lady Lambda Delta and Battler are not here now, and that these people have won Lady Lambda Delta's assistance, with Lady Lambda Delta and Battler probably planning to sneak into the City of Books, in which case their goal is probably to steal back the Golden Key and Angie, and your plan was to act as bait and buy time until their mission was complete. But because of Goda-san's single, poorly chosen line, this level of reasoning is possible for Furuto Erika. What do you think, everyone? With a blank yet ruthless expression, Erika spoke these words and returned to her seat. Everyone else was frozen, unable to move. No one spoke. However, time was moving. As evidence, a bead of sweat dripped down someone's cheek, fell and hit the table with a tiny yet audible splat. Then frozen time shattered, and in the same instant broke apart. The white chair Erika had been sitting in broke apart. The stakes of the Seven Sisters of Purgatory and the high-velocity rounds from the Chester Sister Corps hit the chair at exactly the same time, and a few moments after that, the Erika sitting in that chair faded and vanished. Did you use a fucking Naruto jutsu? Nope, it's a Goku afterimage. She's fast. Kill her. In an instant, Erika had moved to a spot behind the chair. Her expression remained as blank as it had been before. However, there was now something in her hand that hadn't been there. As the 7 lightning strikes of the 7 sisters raced at her once more, she batted all of them away with her scythe. Is she playing fucking Beat Saber? That was one hell of a farce, but the tea was good, thanks for the meal. Well, now it seems that you've all been in agreement since the start. Allow me to ask for your answer once again. Erika lifted her left hand, the one that wasn't holding the scythe. Very well, allow me to answer. This golden land belongs to me, to all of us. If you enter with your shoes on, we'll give you a proper welcome. In other words, to put it elegantly, all cannons prepare to fire. Target the Golden Land. Wash your face in miso soup. Shoot 'em dead. I can't tell. What would you guys describe this facial expression as? Yes, thank you. See you around. Meow. Bernkastel set down the receiver and crossed out yet another name on the list of Lambda Delta's notable friends. Something was wrong. Not a single person she called had heard anything from Lambda Delta. They weren't just playing dumb. They really knew nothing about the strange ruckus Lambda Delta was trying to stir up. Even Bernkastel was starting to suspect that something was fishy. Then a black cat leapt in and meowed a frantic report. Lambda and Battler aren't in the Golden Land? Ha! She tore the phone receiver from its stand. The number she dialed was short. It was probably an internal line. However, after listening to it ring several times, she slammed the receiver down again, finally managing to break the phone. Gather all the cats who aren't busy. This is an emergency. The cats I had guarding the key aren't responding. How are the cats supposed to answer a phone? They don't have thumbs. Lambda! Bernkastel, overwhelmed with emotion, kicked the table over. Then the room finally grew bright. It was like green sunlight. A bright green light waved about, giving the illusion that a green sun was rising and lighting up the room. It was a sign that Bernkastel's army had been given an emergency summons. Come, my kitties. It's time for a witch hunt. That kid always smells like candy, so you'll find her pretty fast. The first cat who finds her gets a human form and a witch's title. What was now an emerald green nebula let out a roar of delight that shook the bookshelf cliff. Something's chasing us. What is that? A green sun? Hide! They know! The three of them frantically hid behind a bookshelf. The room with the key in it was straight ahead. They could see something glinting faintly in the darkness of that room. It was a glint of something different from anything else they had seen so far in the city. The color of the glint was gold. They had almost reached the golden key. However, if they went towards it, Bernkastel would be right behind them along with her vast swarm of familiars. In other words, they were trapped in a dead end. They already knew that the emerald green color came from the eyes of the familiars. However, it was almost beyond comprehension that this undulating green sun could be the same thing, and they could do nothing except stare in wide-eyed shock. Can we possibly beat them to the key? The countless cats are passing through the ravine of bookshelves, from the very top to the very bottom. As they approached, they painstakingly checked the gaps between each book. However, even this mind-numbingly huge task was accomplished swiftly, thanks to the sheer number of familiars. With the speed of a gust of wind, they carefully checked every nook and cranny. There was no way to hide from this green sun. That would have been as foolish as trying to hide from water on a sinking ship. Will we be able to hide until they pass us? No. At this rate, we'll be found no matter where we go. Battler was just about to leap out from the shadows, but Lambda Delta grabbed him by the collar an instant before. Are you thinking of fighting? No, but we'll be found if we just stand here. So we have to move forward. We need to reach the key as soon as possible. You really think there won't be cats guarding the key? We'll just be pinched between them. I believe in Aunt Ava. She's the one who guided us this far. I'm sure she took care of the guard cats too. I agree. If we're going to be found anyway, let's try and get to there as fast as possible and grab the key. If we can just do that, no one will be able to open the book. So, you'll rush in there and grab the key, and then what? That place is a dead end, right? You'll realize there's nowhere to run, don't you? Well, you know that, but the key will be our trump card. It's vitally important to Bernkastel too. If worse comes to worse, we might be able to use the key as a bargaining chip. Bargain with Bern? You're insane! But if we hide here, we'll definitely be found. In that case, I'll take a bet on that 1,000,000,000 chance. We'll get the key, and have that be our trump card. So you're praying for a miracle to win against the Witch of Miracles, picking a winner out of astronomically bad odds. That's the Ushiromiya family's magic. I've got good eyesight, so let me enlighten you. Can you see those magic circles around the golden key? That's a simple barrier, but a pretty strong one. It'll break if you just touch it, but it's a sort of annoying seal that'll take exactly 1 hour to fade. Whether a great witch or a lowly human does it, it's still over an hour before the ceremony begins. In other words, we won't even be able to touch the key unless we can buy time for a whole hour. When Aunt Ava took out the guard cat, she must have broken the magic circle too. It probably won't take an hour. As far as I can see, the magic circle is still intact. Sorry to say it, but even if Ava did touch it, it was less than an hour ago. Well, what's an hour? At least we know we can grab it if we manage to stick around that long. Yeah, sure. Let's play tag for an hour. I'm used to getting chased around by thugs. You two really are out of your minds. You're really planning to play tag against Bern and all her cats? If there's even a 1% chance, you can be certain that we'll grab it. The difference in enthusiasm between the siblings, who had everything to lose, and Lambda Delta, was immense. However, Lambda Delta was no coward. She was a great witch of the Senate. If she surrendered, she wouldn't be able to escape severe punishment, but she would be forgiven after a few hundred years. Why would she, after being thrown into a stormy sea while clutching a buoy that could save only her, decide to throw that buoy away? No living person could be as determined as those siblings who were already fighting for their lives. No one could blame Lambda. You two really are stupid, you know that? Oh well, why don't I tell you about a plan that's got a bit more than a 1% chance of working? How does that sound? The two siblings looked at each other. However, they both thought that any plan would be worth listening to, even if it would only raise their chances by 0.00001%. A sacrifice. Burn is a cat. She'll chase fleeing prey, but she'll also kill prey that doesn't flee, and only after toying with it first. Cats are terrible people. Still, if that's true, it'll be worth betting on. Let's have one sacrifice. We'll decide with rock, paper, scissors. Whoever loses has to go taunt Burn, then get laughed at and killed, all to buy as much time as possible. Does that work for you? No need for rock, paper, scissors. I'll do it. You two go on to the key room. No way, Oni-chan. I'll do it. This is all my responsibility. I was the one who listened to Burn Castell and trusted her, so I've got a thing or two to say to her. Both Battler and Angie decided to be the sacrifice and wouldn't listen to the others. See? You need rock, paper, scissors to decide, right? If you don't act quickly, we won't even have the chance to use this plan. They'll be here any moment. Okay. Either Angie and I will be the sacrifice. Lambda Delta, you take whoever's left, steal the key, and take them back to the Golden Land. I won't let you do it, Oni-chan. Quit joking around. You've got to let me act like a big brother at least once in a while. There's no time. Rock, paper, scissors, single round. I'm super paper, so of course we'll start with that. Got it, you two? Fine. No regrets, okay? 3, 2, 1, paper. It really was a stupid kids game, rock, paper, scissors. Since they'd promised to start with paper, this was a chance to make a surprise attack and use something else. However, both Battler and Angie chose rock, and yet it wasn't a tie. Because in addition to those two rocks, one person who chose scissors.